And hello, Will.
I'm trying to be polite, but it's hard, and this popcorn's really good.
It's okay.
The April 21st, 2021 meeting of the Yarmouth Planning Board is about to convene. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, this meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Kathy Williams, and I'm the Yarmouth Town Planner and will be serving as moderator for this virtual meeting. I will now turn it over to the Planning Board Chair.
Welcome to the April 21st, 2021 Yarmouth Planning Board meeting. My name is Joanne Crowley, and I am the chair of the Yarmouth Planning Board. I'll begin by taking a roll call to establish a quorum. Brad Goodwin, Liz Hartsgrove, Susan Britta, Tom Barron,
Present.
Will Rubenstein,
Present.
Chris Vincent, Joanne Crowley, present. We've established a quorum. We can now call the meeting to order, and I'll turn it back to Kathy to go through our remote participation plans.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Yarmouth Planning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or the live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. The meeting will also be posted on the Yarmouth YouTube channel for future viewing. Please be patient as we work to overcome any challenges with the virtual meeting. For all meetings, all audience participants enter the virtual meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted when called upon to speak by the chair or the moderator. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. Do not use Bluetooth or speakerphone devices when speaking. All votes must be roll call votes. For applicants and presenters, which we do not have any of this evening, so I will skip that. With regard to public comment, none of the items on the agenda this evening are public hearings that require a designated public comment period. However, public comment can be taken at the discretion of the chair. Members of the public may request to speak by selecting the raise hand button or pressing *9 on a phone and waiting for the chair to call on them to speak. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record and then provide their comment. I will now hand the meeting back over to the chair. You're muted, Joanne. That's the 2020/2021 catchphrase.
I choked on a piece of Will's popcorn and had to excuse myself, get some water. I don't know what happened there, Will. Anyway.
The magic of Zoom, Madam Chair.
I guess.
I hope it tasted good.
Once again, welcome to members of the public who may be joining us this evening. Or may view this at a later date. We appreciate your participation. Many of you, again, we're talking about visioning tonight. I want to thank you again for your participation and help in this process. We're really quite grateful for it and look forward to your continued participation. So tonight we're going to review a revised document. At our last meeting, we had an initial document that we've made some changes to. And it outlines an initial framework for discussing the vision statement and goals in our key programmatic elements of the plan. As a preface to our discussions, I've asked Kathy to review for us where we are on the visioning calendar and to provide us with a look ahead on the next steps. I also want to remind the board and the public who may be joining us, that this is a very iterative process where completion of one step truly does lead to the next step. And so tonight we're hoping to complete an important step in this process. And Kathy's going to review for us exactly where we are in our schedule. We're doing pretty well as we laid it out, I believe, Kath. We're pretty much on schedule. The revised COVID schedule, and then some upcoming next steps in May and June.
Yeah.
So Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, just bear with me for 1 second here.
Welcome, Susan.
So I think we're all familiar kind of where we are. We did a great job, I think, getting through all of the workshops and the roundtable, getting all of that information. Horsley Witten did a great job of summarizing it, and we've kind of moved on to drafting the vision statement with goals and objectives, or kind of starting with the actual vision plan and then vetting it to the planning board. So that's kind of where we are right now, with the idea that hopefully we can finish vetting this sometime in April and May, and also start developing the visioning survey. The document that we're going to be discussing tonight will really serve as the backbone, the basis for that next survey, where it will be a little bit less complicated survey, where we'll be asking for people's preferences on certain things with regard to not important to them to highly important to them, versus having a lot of open-ended questions, which is what we had in the initial. We'll also have an opportunity for people to provide additional comment in case we didn't capture everyone's thoughts from the original public input phase. And then Joanne and I was talking about, it might be a good time, once we kind of come up with a general draft vision statement, goals, and kind of coming up with the survey, that we might go before the Board of Selectmen again and give them a little update on where we stand, so they're aware of our process. The idea is to have the survey available for June and July, and then have a couple of workshops in June. So I think we're really working pretty heavily this month of May in order to finalize our vision and goals and come up with the actual survey. If for some reason that doesn't seem like it's possible, depending on the input that we're hearing tonight, then we may need to start talking about maybe pushing back the workshops a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Any questions from board members on the schedule here? We did add the one catch up with the Board of Selectmen, which I do think would be important before the survey goes public.
Their meetings are May 25th and June 8th.
Thank you. With that, so tonight, all of you have received the packet of information, and we need to complete, and hopefully it will be tonight, the important task of reaching a consensus on the elements and perhaps some of the descriptive language that you've seen in the documents provided by Kathy. This is a critical step because it is required for us to make the next step, which is the survey. The documents we're reviewing will form really the foundation for that survey in the second round of workshops. As Kathy has mentioned on the survey, as an example, the intention there is to have it be a closed loop survey, if you will, that we would take as an example, one of the goals, preserve drinking water and air quality, water resources, wetlands, marshlands, and natural habitats. How important is that to you? And it would be not very important to very important. So that's where this document will drive the survey. So it's an important, I think, an important element of tonight's discussion that we reach a consensus on that. Then Kathy has something to run with in terms of developing this survey that will be a closed question survey with the opportunity at each of the major areas to have an open-ended question on something else that might be important, that they consider important, that might not be on the survey. That might include things like, a lot of people at the visioning session mentioned Matakees and the repurposing of Matakees. If that's possible, what would we like to do? We want to give people an opportunity for the selectmen to hear what townspeople might want to say about that as an example. There may be others. So that's why our work tonight and bringing it to a close at some point, not final, but something that Kathy can run with for the survey is really quite important. And I think we have a good product here to work with. You remember that at our last meeting, we agreed to pivot our framework to be more simple, to be direct, and to be action-oriented, and more engaging, so that our discussion can focus on Yarmouth as a place to live, work, play, and learn. And I want to thank Brad and Chris again for driving that focus last week at our last meeting, and to Susan for jumping in once we had that framework, for leading the way with Kathy in producing this document. So Susan, my thanks to you and your hard work with Kathy on bringing this together. Thank you so much. So with that, we'd like to start with a review of the first page, which is the vision statement. And I'd like to just open it up for any comments or adjustments or omissions that you think we might want to make to that, that Kathy could work with. Yes, Kathy, I'm sorry.
Would you like me to share the screen or? would
Oh,
you prefer
sure,
not?
sure. Would that be helpful to everybody? Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
Yeah. It just might help people at home too who may not
Yeah,
have.
of
the
course.
document in front of them.
Okay, so this is the beginnings of a vision statement. Again, all of the what do we call it? Autocorrects will be in place at some point, and the wordsmithing and spelling and grammar and all that other good stuff we'll make sure is exactly on target. But I think everyone gets the good sense here. So I'd like to go through, and if you don't mind, I'd like to go through one by one to get your reactions on this, so that we have some consensus going forward that we're all on board. Would anyone like to start?
Okay, I'll jump in. I missed the last meeting, and I was very impressed when I saw when I picked up the package for tonight and saw the format, the live, work, play, learn. I think is an excellent slogan, a very good way of expressing what we need to be doing and what we need for hopefully for the end product. I think this first page is to me is self-explanatory and lays the groundwork for the rest of the discussion.
Great, thank you, Tom. Susan, can you hear us okay? Can you hear us? I can't hear you.
She's muted.
Can you hear me now, Kathy?
Yes, all right. I hope you could hear me praising your good work.
I heard you. Joanne, exactly what are we supposed to be doing now? Are we editing? Are we rearranging? What are we supposed to be doing with all the information?
Well, this is the first public look-see.
Okay.
And it's meant to be, let's look at each of these pages and come to some consensus that the general framework that we have outlined here is acceptable, and we'll turn this document around one more time for us to be in agreement with. But we need to come to agreement on the categories that are under live, work, play, and learn. And then we can go through the detail on each of those goals that we've laid out, using the 3 Ps as suggested at our last meeting, which I think was really quite informative. So that's where we'd like to start, Susan. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to go to you, Will. Any comments on this first? Rearranging some bullets, moving some bullets around, general
I would
sense
say,
of.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would say in general, I think it's awesome. And specifically, I think there's just a couple little things that I was focusing on the learn section, which in comparison to the others, is not quite as, big, but that's not a big deal. But I was focused on in the section about play. The fourth bullet mentions the library, and I recognize that the library is about play, but the library is also about learn. And so I was trying to think, well, how could we broaden out the learning section without having to invent another bullet point? It felt like, I think in theory, you could move that one down.
I mentioned that to Kathy earlier.
The
You and I
other
are on
thing,
the same page.
okay. And then the other thing I would mention in relation to the learning section has to do with somehow referencing the great work of the Cultural Center. And maybe it doesn't belong here. So I can reserve the right, or I think I saw it somewhere else. But there's something about learning about the cultural history and the history of our town. And I feel like if we're the kind of place that gets to say what we're about, I would think that that's something important. And that would fit into the learn section, especially when you think about the Historical Society and all the work they do. And also there's an historical commission, I believe. I don't know. There's something about the history and cultural history of the town that we're either just something I think could belong in that learn section. I apologize, I don't have something already written, but it was sort of in my mind.
Okay, well.
And I'll wordsmith something in the background while you're getting other comments.
That's great.
Perhaps.
Or get it to Kathy, but I agree, especially because partly the Historic Society of Old Yarmouth participated in almost all of our workshops. And they are very active in helping our, townspeople learn about their town. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great pickup, Will. That's a great ad there, as well as the Cultural Center.
And I also just want to quickly echo and say thank you for the work that was done in the previous meeting, and certainly the work done in between meetings, because as I think about where we're going based on the timeline, the ability to take something along these lines, I think is fair to say it can be digestible for anybody to then be sort of involved in this process, and we're not coming down the mountain with the tablets, it doesn't feel like that. This feels like something that any single person in town could dive into and then swim around in. So I thank everybody for their efforts.
Okay. Susan?
I just had a couple of comments again on the work section. The very first bullet has a thriving, diverse year-round economy. I'm nervous about the last phrase, less reliant on tourism. I don't think it adds anything, and I think it might be a red flag. I just don't think it adds anything. I like thriving, diverse year-round economy, period. I think that's all we should say. And the second one, job opportunities that provide livable wages and benefits. The last phrase, making living here more affordable. I don't think we need that either. One of the things when Chris sort of put his question out there last week, why would we want to? People that come to work in Yarmouth don't necessarily live here, and the format was sort of like, what would I want to see in the town of Yarmouth, even if I just came here to work? And it would be, has job opportunities that provide livable wages and benefits. I don't think making living here more affordable. That's sort of an editorial comment. I don't know if that.
No, I think that's a good one. You're absolutely right. Good.
Also, the term small town feel. Everyone's got their own opinion about what small town feel means. I think there might be some elements that we all think I just don't know, maintains its small town feel and protects its environment while promoting economic development. I get the sense there that those two are in conflict with each other. Protecting the environment while promoting economic development. Maybe we could word that a little bit differently. And also the term small town feel. Everyone's got their own definition. I just don't know, maintains, I would say, a livable community, or I don't know what small town feel means, actually. So tell me what it means. If we're going to put it in a document, what does it mean?
Yeah, what?
I think you're right. I think small town feel means a lot of different things to different people, just like community character means something different to me than it might mean to somebody else. There was a consistent, and your comment's very interesting, because I did feel there was a consistent push and pull between promoting economic development, but still wanting to maintain that small
Right.
town feel. So
Right.
people don't want super high rises. They didn't
Right.
want to overdevelop or overcrowd the town. So those are kind of the things that I got out of reading the comments from people. So if you have some suggestions on that would be great. But I don't, there's going to be certain things that are just going to mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
And there's just
Yeah.
not much we can do about that.
Okay.
Perhaps on this one, because it is about work, that a small town feel isn't as important to the discussion about people who work here. They may not care whether it's a small town or a big town. They're here because they want to work here. So perhaps we could just be silent for this particular, under this category of work. Am I looking at the right one here? Kathy, you looking surprised?
No. I'm
Okay.
just, I'm looking to see if what we had put under the goals related to
Yeah,
work.
okay.
Well, maybe
that
it
might
could,
help
We can
inform
work
them.
on that.
maybe it could be something like maintains the town's distinctive character. Because we are trying to brand it. We're trying to come up with, if you say the word Yarmouth, people are going to say, oh yeah, it's more than the water park. So maybe something like a town, as a great place to work, we envision Yarmouth to be a town that maintains its distinctive character, comma, promotes its environment while at the same time promoting economic development or something like that. Move from small town feel to sort of distinctive character, which I don't know if that's even a decent substitute.
I'm concerned that people may not like what our distinctive character that we have today.
Well, a lot of people don't.
Right.
But-
So maintaining it may not. I think we need to work
I
on
see
that
what
one a
you
little
mean.
bit.
I
You know
see
what I'm
you mean.
saying?
Yep. I see what you mean. Yep.
I think if we are cautionary about using too many adjectives,
Right.
it'll be a safer route. Tom,
If-
you
if-
had your hand raised. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I remember from our initial survey work, small town feel is a common expression in a lot of the responses that we got. So there is a sentiment for something along those lines. But I do agree with Susan that it can be overstated or understated, however different people perceive it. But it is a valid point. While I have the moment, I would like to double up on Will's comment about the library and also add something about the cultural center. I think that makes an awful lot of sense. Now, the cultural center is not a town facility. Am I correct, Kathy?
Correct.
Yeah.
But they do receive town funds.
They
Yes.
receive CPA funding for
Yeah.
the work that was done on the building.
Yeah. So
And they receive an annual allotment from tourism.
Oh,
but
do they? I did not realize
Yeah,
that.
they receive $25,000 to $30,000 a year for tourism. From the
So
tourism.
to encourage some words to recognize them that does make some sense.
So,
Okay.
so the actual cultural center of Cape Cod is mentioned in a goal under learning. Are you talking about maybe under opportunities for lifelong learning, talking about the Historical Society of Old Yarmouth and Cultural Center in the vision itself?
I think I do. As an engineer, I had to prepare grant applications for the State Historic Commission back up in the MDC, and believe me, a lot of people do not understand the history of the state, of the Cape, of the town. Historic, I won't say instruction, but historic information and data. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. So yeah, there should be at least a acknowledgement of that for the future. As the old expression goes, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments on this? I have one to make that I've already given to Kathy. Our word cloud had the word beaches front and center, and it's not on this page. So I would like to add under play, offers plenty of public access to our beaches, waterways, and natural resources.
That makes sense.
Got to get beaches in there. Okay, everybody's okay generally with this? I'm not sure if Brad, are you still with us?
I am. Hold on one sec. Let me get in a little
Okay.
quieter area here. Hold on.
Okay,
I
didn't want
apologize.
to leave you out.
No, I'm just trying to multitask to the nth degree. As I walk in some quiet area. I like where we're going. I would take a lot of the warm fuzzy stuff out, but I know we're going to leave it in. I agree with Sue about taking out affordability. What is affordable to one is not affordable to another. And one of the things that people always put in a radio commercial, which I can't stand, is conveniently located. Well, what's conveniently located to somebody in Provincetown is not the same as somebody in Bourne. So just be careful on some of the adjectives and adverbs we're throwing in, because everybody has a different place. And finally, being Brad, if we could lessen up the sea rising and the polar bears dying and the ice melting, I think that would be a good place. But I will keep that as a vote of losing 6-1. But I just think we should just make the document as middle of the road as we can.
Joanne, can I just echo
Yes,
what Brad
please.
said? I would take out things like it's an hour. As Brad said, skinny it down. We shouldn't be saying, our citizens, just say citizenry. I think it will make it more concise.
I like that. Skinny it down. Okay.
That's not
Can
my
somebody do
forte.
that? Can somebody do that to me, please? Personally, that would be nice.
Don't go
Jeez.
there.
All right,
Okay,
I won't.
moving
I
on.
won't.
Why don't we put the next page up, Kath?
Yep.
We're going to go through these in detail just to get a
Joanne,
sense. Yes.
Joanne, can I also ask one other question? If we make some editorial changes, can we just get them to Kathy?
Oh, yeah,
Some
absolutely.
editorial suggestions? Okay, all right.
Yeah, is that all right, Kath?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
great. If you'll hang on for 1 minute, I didn't have up what I was looking for, so if you will bear with me.
I'm searching for the polar bear reference, Madam Chair, but I do know what Brad is talking about. We'll get there.
Good, Brad.
We'll get there when we get there.
You did a great job. I just wanted to quickly say what I had to say.
All right. Let's see if I can't get that on the screen. There we go.
Okay, so I guess we can go through each one of these. Kathy, that would be easiest if we just, as quickly or as slowly as we'd like, go
Sure.
through these. Again, I want to thank the contributions that all of you made. The preserve, promote, provide, I think is just a great framework for us. So again, anyone want to open up with any comments on this to start? Any adjustments, anything we left out? Again, we will take all of the comments about editorial and adjectives and ours and its.
And small town feel.
Small town feel, yep. Okay, are we all clear on environment? We'll go to the next. We'll get one more whack at this one. Kathy, and I and anyone else who wants to take a final edit look, we'll get it back out to you for any final adjustments. So next one, Kath, community character.
Again, small town feel. That vision is just the same thing from the front page. So whatever gets edited on the first page would be
Right.
edited here.
Right.
There is a reference in the promote section to the town's history. And
Right.
I just don't, if we want to match it up differently based on what we said about the front page, that would be a contender. But again,
And I would echo Will on that as well, but there's more than just those two examples that are cited. There's the Captain's Walk on the north side, to also be included, and the small the town common up there, where the Historic Society is located. So there's to call out just those two. Either we call them out or we don't call them out, because there's others that would be left hanging if we just concentrate on two.
Well, maybe that's a good suggestion, Tom. Maybe we don't call them out. Less is more in this case. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Joanne, although we could, I think Tom's idea is that we could maybe at the very end, maybe not include it in the document, but have it handy, a list of everything in this town that is worth a cultural look-see, including this stuff right here. Because as Tom said, there's many more than this, but I do think we ought to have something, a document, a piece of paper, something. If someone says, what are you talking about? We can hold it up. And if necessary, attach it as an addendum at the end, if required.
Okay. Reference document.
Just a list of, all the nice things we have.
Okay. Any other comments on this one? Okay, Kath? On housing? Any other comments?
Brad brought up the word of affordable. It's right in the top line.
Thank you.
So I don't know what we can work around on that.
I mean, yeah, as I said in the last meeting, if I moved to Yarmouth today, I'd love to live here, but I can't afford to live here, but I don't have the right to live in Yarmouth. But it's a beautiful town. So there's got to be a balance there on how to word that. I'm sorry.
Can't we just say offers quality housing
Yeah, we could strike affordable.
and year round? Just say offers quality housing.
Yeah.
That would include rentals in the summer as well as year round, right, Kathy?
I think you're getting away a little bit from what was said at the public comment, which was looking for housing that was more
the year-round.
affordable in
Yeah.
some way and was for year-round residents and not for seasonal and or Airbnb
Okay.
or those types of things. So, when you do that, you got to think back a little bit to what was in the original input. I do agree with Brad. I mean, I'd love to retire to Hawaii, but I don't expect the people who live there to make it affordable for me to do so. But I think obviously we do have an affordable housing program, which Brad is on the committee. So there is obviously an understanding that there is a need for affordable. Now, whether it's a capital A, the whole perpetuity on the deed, or whether it's just something that's a little bit more affordable for, people who might be 100% of median income, or because right now most of the affordable housing is for people who are 80% median area income.
How about the word suitable instead of affordable?
Yeah, well, there's also the fact that the state, as expressed by the governor, is looking for affordable housing statewide. So it's a sticky subject to put in this document, and make it like, understandable.
Well, I think on this, it seems to me that the individual goals are directed towards different markets. As an example, existing year-round housing stock. If someone were to have property and want to build a $10 million home, that would add to our real estate roles. That might be a good thing. Those kinds of real estate developments, I think, are helpful to us on the bottom line. So maybe there's a way to have as a separate goal the affordable housing as a separate goal, but that the vision be more broadly stated as quality housing for all, for whatever your definition is of quality housing. And underneath it, there would be these subsets that could include rentals, that could include, if you will, McMansions, and affordable housing.
Or use the other one that's the buzzword right now has been workforce housing instead of affordable housing. People keep coming up with subsets that they'd like the teachers and the firemen and the policemen and the radio salesman to have an affordable a place to live, not somebody who is down on their luck. And I don't know another way of phrasing it, but workforce housing has been the lexicon that has been thrown at least at this board member for past 5, 6, 7 years. So I like your idea of all forms of housing, but I think maybe that word would work in.
Workforce
So what
housing
I'm
instead of
suggesting,
affordable?
my specific suggestion is to remove affordable from the vision line
Right.
Yeah.
and
Just
leave
say-
it in.
And
Leave
just
it
say
in.
quality housing.
Um,
Offers quality housing and then have 3 subsets. Rentals, affordable, and then market rate would be the other, as opposed to affordable, use the term market rate. And that way we don't have to say McMansions, but it's a market rate house. Maybe that would work. Just say offers quality housing and then have 3 bullets underneath. Preserve, well, I don't know how we work it, whether you want to do preserve, promote, or provide, but in any event, pick up the notion of the rentals, affordable, and market rate units.
okay, well,
Well,
let-
in the provide, just so I can be clear, because I'm getting a little bit lost. Under provide, it says more quality year-round, affordable, and workforce housing for rental and home ownership that provides safe, quality housing for all residents. Is that something it sounds like a lot of the things you've been jockeying around are encompassed in that provide. Was there other things that you wanted to change, or is that not what you wanted to say?
No, I think that's good. I would just drop the term at the very end that provides safe, quality housing. I don't think you need that. Just end it with home ownership. More
rental
quality
and home-
year-round
okay.
affordable workforce housing for rental and home ownership, period.
Okay. So we're saying the vision offers quality. Are we saying year-round housing? Or are we
I just say
saying
housing.
we're just offering quality housing, period?
Yeah.
No,
For-
not for our residents, just quality housing.
no, I think for our residents.
You can say residents and guests. How about that? That's all.
There you go.
What's wrong with just offering quality housing?
I agree, Susan, but it looks like we want some extra words.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to be clear on what you guys want. That's all.
The simpler the better. Everyone understands offering quality housing. Whether you're here to rent, whether you're here to buy, whether you're here to build, whether you are a workforce, whether you're going to do a McMansion. The vision of this town is it's a town that's going to offer quality housing. And then as Joanne said, we can break it into subsets, but the overall umbrella is it's quality housing.
Okay, I think we're good on this one.
Did anyone want to change it into preserve, promote, or add anything to those things?
I'm good with the way they look.
Okay,
I think it looks good too.
okay. Thank you.
The other thing,
Oh.
as compared to other Cape towns, I'd drop that too. The phrase in the parentheses, Kathy.
Yep. Do you
Just
want to
say-
get rid of the whole bullet? Because it says affordability, preserve affordability, but people are going to say it's not affordable at all. We're only affordable compared to other Cape towns, which was something that was mentioned.
Under preserve, I think it's existing year-round housing stock, definitely. That's one thing we absolutely want to preserve. Promote increase in year-round use, which is exactly what we want to do, and then promote year-round affordability. I think one bullet under each one of those, preserve, promote, and provide, would capture it. We can always go back and enhance it if we have to.
So get
Good
rid
idea.
of that affordability.
So we'll
bullet.
drop
would-
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would drop it.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Next up is town services.
So do we want to get rid of affordable here? Because one of the things that we did get mentioned quite a bit was the tax rate
Yeah,
and making that, and again, people say affordable, that means something different to me than it means to someone on Social Security. So
I think you can drop it and just say it's a safe place to live that offers high-quality municipal services, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, because down below, you have a very good statement there with a reasonable tax rate. I thought that was
Right.
very well stated and it just spot on.
Yep. That's good.
Kathy, where it says communicate effectively and transparently, I would drop with its citizens because it's a goal to communicate with everyone. Whether
so
you-
with
you
get
here to
rid of the
visit,
with the community.
I would just say communicates effectively and transparently.
Oh,
You don't need with
Yep.
citizen. With
Yep,
citizenry
yep.
is too narrow. We
Yep.
want the town services to communicate and effective and transparently with everyone, other governmental entities, visitors. I think limiting it to its citizenry is too narrow. Or just put a period after communicates effectively and transparently, period.
so the last bullet under provide opportunities for effective and transparent communication, should we get rid of with the community, or should we leave the with the community there?
I think you should drop it. I think it narrows it. We want them to, if Charlie Baker calls, we want them to effectively communicate.
Good point. Excellent.
Okay, next one.
I had a comment on the preserve part of that. It talks about policing and public safety departments. There's no mention of fire and EMT services if we're talking about services. I don't know if it makes sense to include that. Public safety is all encompassing, but you've called out policing already as a separate, and the other two are left in limbo somehow with just public safety.
Just say, how about strong community policing and other public safety departments? Would that work, Tom? Or do you want them called out individually?
Well, maybe we say police and fire departments.
Well, going to some of the town to the selectmen's meetings, the emphasis on both fire and EMT services is prominent in some of those discussions before the select board. So in a sense, yeah, a word or two, police, fire, and EMT services. Yeah, that would make sense.
Just say public safety as you did so well.
Well,
Isn't that-
public safety is the overall umbrella.
There you
But
go.
if we're going to call out police, then the others should be called out.
Okay.
I think, you know.
The only thing is I think there's other departments that fall under public safety. I mean, DPW, making sure our roads are plowed, involves public safety. the health department making sure our food establishments are properly, inspected and permitted, keeps us all safe, and the building department keeps the buildings from falling down on us.
I mean, DNR also plays a role in that as
Right.
well.
Right. So
Why
I
don't we
don't,
just say our strong community, public safety departments, plural? And then we can define that as we see fit. Tom's right. If you start calling them out, it's like going back to the historic thing. If you call out one, you got to call out all of them. I would just say preserves our strong community, public safety departments, plural.
do you think when we ask the public, they'll know what that means? When we ask
If
that in a
there's, yeah,
survey
if there's,
question?
if there's some confusion, we'll have to string it out. I think everything that Will just mentioned, everyone just mentioned something that should be on that line. If people don't understand public service departments, plural, maybe we will have to have a longer sentence. But I'd go with the shorter one first and see how they react to that.
May I suggest something like our strong commitment to public safety? We preserve our strong commitment to public safety.
Yeah, that works too. It's a little weaker. Departments to me indicates people. We're committed to the people that are working in these public safety departments. Public safety as an entity, as a concept, yes, we would obviously be preserving our commitment to public safety, but through that commitment flows our commitment to the people working in that department. I think that's what we're getting at here, right? The people?
I think it's the community's willingness to pay
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Safety was a very consistent comment, which made me
Right.
feel really happy, because no one wants to live in a place that they don't feel safe.
I don't, coin toss. Pick one, and we'll see what happens. I like Joanne's idea though. It's a little, it's.
Well, a commitment is a money commitment, and a commitment to the people, and a commitment to
Absolutely.
their dedication, I think.
Yep.
Or we can find some words to make, this is to all the people in town who provide public service.
Right.
That has a public safety component, or a law enforcement component, or an emergency response component.
Right.
So those can be delineated, I think, in further. But you're right. If we're going to have a survey that comes out of this, we need to be clear as to what that means, so that they can answer it as best as.
Right. Mhm.
We can be clearer in the survey than we
Yeah.
are here.
Yeah.
We can even take, if we feel like, take some of these, and maybe they're broken up into 2 questions, just to be sure we're getting the answers that we're looking for. So there's some flexibility. So we're leaving it our strong commitment to public safety right now. Is that okay?
Okay. Next is
Brad's favorite.
climate reason.
I perfectly said related to a changing climate. I didn't want to put in there climate change. I was thinking of you the whole time. No one's jumping in.
Anyone have any particular ads or comments here?
Nothing productive, but I will just make a comment. My mapping capability, in fact, the map behind me on the wall shows a 20-foot contour around Yarmouth. 20-foot contour would be entirely flooded if the Greenland ice sheet were to collapse on us. So I'm not wishing it, but it would take out half of the habitable area in Yarmouth. So let's let's just put that aside and move on.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep this as apolitical as possible. I
Yeah.
would like to keep to our rule of trying to use fewer adjectives than more and remove proactive. Planning is planning. Either we do it or we don't.
Amen.
So I'd like to remove proactive. If anyone has any concerns about that, is that all right?
Good catch.
Do
Okay.
you want
we
to
good with this?
do you want to get rid of efforts, just say through planning and mitigation? Get rid of efforts?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Great.
The economy is a long one.
Small town feel with Cape Cod style. Whew.
That it means something to people. It was, as Tom mentioned too, it was consistent. And, you know, people also say old Cape Cod too sometimes as to, you know, what this exactly
Well,
does
that
mean.
old Cape Cod is now a myth. So
I think it's like the outer Cape. Maybe you can find a few snatches
Yeah.
of it somewhere.
Well, we have Tommy the elephant, so that's good.
I do want to raise a question for all of you on the first sentence, the first phrase there. The way I looked at that initially, it didn't ring favorably with me. I was thinking that we would want to encourage tourism. Tourism is good for our town. It's good for our economy. To the degree we thrive on it, that's a good thing. When it's not here, it's a bad thing. But I think I guess I'd like to just try to rethink what is it we want to say about tourism, and what do you think? What are your thoughts on that with regard to the economy? Do we want to promote tourism? Do we want to promote? I mean, the chamber would be the first to say, yeah, let's get out there and get everybody here.
yeah. Joanne, you're talking about the vision paragraph, correct?
That's right.
But we've already modified that. We already took out less reliant on tourism. And we also
We
took
already
out,
dropped that phrase.
right, making living here more affordable. This is just a repeat of the first page that we've already
I'm
edited.
so, oh God,
Yeah.
I've been on too many Zoom meetings today.
Oh, you
I
were spot on.
apologize.
Everyone agreed with you, Joanne, with all the things
All
you
right, I'm going to
mentioned.
shut up from now on.
Although I do think it's important. I don't know if we have to state it explicitly, but I do think it's important that we imply somewhere that tourism is one of the pillars of our economy. We cannot ignore tourism. It is what it is. It's one of the pillars of our economy. What we want to do is add another pillar or develop another pillar with a more year-round economy, not do away with the one we have. And you know, we have to make sure that we don't give the impression that we're stepping away from tourism as a major contributor to our economy, because we simply can't do that.
Yeah.
Do you want to say
That was
preserve
exactly
it?
my thought on that, Susan, is I don't think
Yeah.
we want to start to step away from it being.
No, not at all.
critical.
No, I think we
Because
should say maybe.
when we did the business roundtable in particular, you know, they live and die by that.
Oh yeah,
And they
Yeah.
were very strident in their
right.
comments.
No, and I think that's good. But we were looking at a broader picture here, because we're looking at Yarmouth beyond June, July, and August, and it has been painfully clear, and has been for a long time, that the Cape in general and every little town needs to diversify its economy, and not be as reliant. That's, I think, the key phrase on tourism. We need to diversify because it's better for the economic base. We cannot have an economic base based on one thing. It's like having a town with a prison in it, and everyone is employed by the prison, or a federal facility and everyone's employed by the federal facility, like these base closures. Once that stuff closes, and for us, we get a bad season. It's the equivalent of a bad season. So the leaders need to know that decisions have to be made now on focusing on a year-long, in addition to the summer, what else do we have to do?
The last sentence in that vision paragraph could be expanded to include the reference to the tourism. In other words, the first 2 or 3 sentences are really redundant from what we've already discussed.
Mhm.
But saying that has as many different businesses providing opportunities for work, entertainment, shopping, and dining, including a heavy component of seasonal tourism,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
I think it would simplify that paragraph, and it would include a recognition that it's more than just tourism by putting it at the end.
Okay. Any other comments on this particular piece on the
Just-
economy under
Just so
work?
I just want to be clear.
Sure.
So basically, the last sentence would be changed to has many different businesses providing opportunities for work, entertainment, shopping, and dining, including seasonal tourism. Is that including a strong? Well, I wasn't clear.
I think Tom was saying including businesses, grounded in seasonal tourism or businesses associated with seasonal tourism, but capture the notion that there are businesses associated with seasonal tourism that
Yeah.
we're not going to neglect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So do you want to put something under preserve also about preserving our strong seasonal tourism economy?
That it could go
Oh,
there
that's
too.
good. That's a good idea.
Yeah, makes sense.
That way everyone knows we want to preserve it, like you guys were saying.
Yeah, the small town feel is that first line and preserve doesn't compute.
I think a lot of people, I was surprised, do feel like Yarmouth is fairly connected and has many elements of a small town, with the different groups, the different clubs, the different area libraries, a bunch of different ways for people to connect and gather and go to events together. So I think there was a lot of that feeling of a small town feel, even though I don't think of Yarmouth at 24,000 people as being a small town. I think we all have our little villages. I kind of stick within my little compassed area, as do probably everybody else. And that little area probably does feel like a small town. So I'm more than welcome to edit it and take any suggestions you guys have, but that seemed to be a very consistent comment made.
We discussed the idea of a small town concerning the first bullet on the live teams were in both environment and in community character. And here we're talking about the economy, and I think the small town does not compute in this context. I don't think that if we're talking economy, we should be talking about economic issues. The second line under preserve is more appropriate. And as Kathy, you had suggested the idea of throwing in the year-round, the seasonal tourism, probably under that preserve heading.
So would you like to get rid of the first bullet under preserve?
That's basically what I'm saying.
Yep. I second that.
The
I
pen's
think as
coming
we
out.
focus, I think as we focus back on what Chris in particular said, you know, this is about people coming to work here.
Yeah.
Well, right.
And
Yeah.
that's a different set of people that we're
Yeah.
trying to,
But I
Yep.
work here
yeah.
and I live here and I play here. So it's not just like somebody coming out and that's the only thing you do in town. I think,
No, but for that aspect of your life where it's your work environment,
yep.
would it matter to you? I don't mean to put you on the spot, Kathy, but would it matter to you if you were the town planner for Wareham or for Yarmouth? If it was a great job and they had great planning department, would it matter? The town?
Yes.
It would.
Yes,
All right.
it
I'm
would.
wrong.
It really, really, especially if Wareham's my choice.
Oh, no, it's
So-
no, maybe that's the wrong choice. Maybe that's the wrong choice.
But so there's two kind
Yeah.
of there's two statements there. I think there's the small town feel, which I can get where you guys are coming from, and then there's the Cape Cod style. I think that gets into your environment being attractive, makes you want to go to work and that type of thing. I have no problem taking the whole thing out, but like I say, there might be two different ideas being floated there.
Yeah, because remember the heading is economy.
Yes.
So I guess you'd ask the question, what does a small town feel have to do with the economy, or how does it affect the economy? That would be one question. And if we were going to make an argument to leave it in, I think we can take it out and just have the two bullets, you know, encouraging redevelopment in the right locations, and then picking up on the notion of, you know, the businesses associated with the seasonal tourism,
Economy.
seasonal tourism.
Yeah.
The small town feel with Cape Cod style, I always go back to, if you can't define it, don't use it, because it just opens up all sorts of problems for you. And I think under economy, those two bullets get it. You know, we want an environment that encourages redevelopment. You might even say development and redevelopment in the right locations while minimizing impacts to natural resources and open spaces. That is key. That is absolutely key. That we heard that over and over and over again. If anything, I'd add the word development and redevelopment in the right location while minimizing, you know, impacts to our redevelopment. You might even drop in the right locations, our environment, by encouraging development and redevelopment while minimizing impacts on our natural resources. Right locations, another one that's loaded with judgments. You know, some people might say we shouldn't be redeveloping Great Island. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Anything that.
And I was just going to say that Great Island is one of the areas that engendered the majority of the comments about redevelopment.
Right.
I think the right locations is, I mean, there's a lot of places in town that you could develop without impacting natural resources or open spaces, but
Right.
it may not be in the right locations determined by the town through zoning, through all of those
Right.
those
Right.
things. So I have no problem getting rid of the first bullet and adding development and redevelopment, and I think it makes sense.
Okay. We okay with this? Move on to the next.
But
Well,
Sorry.
just a quickie. The radio's coming out with me, and one of the bullets we have family friendly and family friendly, I think in the same sentence almost. I would win one of those out, just so the human eye or the human lips are not saying it or seeing it twice within a matter of seconds. I just hate repeating words. It's one of those radio idiosyncrasies after decades. I apologize.
where is that, Brad?
under
Our
promote.
family-friendly activities, inflatable park, mini golf, et cetera,
Oh, yeah.
to market the town as a premier family-friendly destination. Just as a premier destination is fine.
Okay. Yep.
You know,
Yep, thank you.
yep. But don't forget the words locally owned and operated. People love hearing that over and over again too.
I'm sorry, is that
because-
sarcasm dripping? What's that?
Yes, dripping. Let me get a mop. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. Moving on to connectivity and mobility. Any comments from?
Yeah, just
Members
drop
of the-
get around town at the very end.
Where's Susan? I'm sorry.
I would drop to get around town at the very end. Enhances walkability, bikeability, and public transit, and offers easy, safe, I would say, and offers easy and safe transportation modes. To get around town, again, I think it's too limiting. I think we just ought to be embracing bikeability, like, walkability, public transit, and a town that offers easy, safe transportation modes. Or other transportation modes.
Offers easy and safe transportation? I mean,
Well, I mean,
you want to say mode?
enhanced walkability, bikeability, and public transit's great. And then you could say a second sentence, and further offers and supports other transportation modes, for like a public bus or something like that.
Well, that's public transit.
Well, what about that elderly transit, Kathy? What's that? Is that
It's
public
public
also?
yeah, and it's a form of public transit. I just wanted to, the only reason that's in there is I want to touch on, a lot of people were talking about just the safety of our roadways, a lot of the speeding.
Right.
So I think somewhere we need to say, easy, meaning you can maneuver quickly and easily around town or within our community, and it needs to be safe. So that we
Okay.
can then go into different items later to talk about speeding and safety and congestion reduction and all that stuff. That's the only reason that's in there. You don't have to say ways around town, just offers easy and safe transportation.
Yeah, or other, yeah, either one, that's fine.
I'd like to suggest that it's, we're really providing access to public transit. We don't really.
Provided.
So
Yep.
embraces walkability, bikeability, and public transit access. And further offers easy and safe pathways for mobility.
I don't think people will know what that means, though.
No?
Do you? Pathways to mobility? I wouldn't know what that means.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But again, I talk in a different jargon, so maybe if
That's all
everyone
right.
understands that, that's fine.
Why don't we just end the sentence with access, as Joanne said, embraces walkability, bikeability, and public transit access.
Because then you're
Period.
not talking about the comments on speeding or congestion.
Let's have that as, well, then how about a second sentence and then say further, promotes enhanced safety on major roadways or something like just, traffic, such measures as traffic calming, bike paths on major roads, something like that. Is that too?
We're trying to take out words.
Traffic safety is emphasized down in the promote section.
Right. So we don't have to say it up in the vision, do we?
I wouldn't
I
think,
think Susan's idea to just truncate it after access.
And then
captures it.
Tom said, pick up the safety idea down under promote.
Yeah, so we have it underneath one of the
Yeah.
other three, one of the other three Ps.
Yeah, because it says traffic safety improvements. You talk about pedestrian. The very first bullet under promote, I think is a good one. That does capture all the stuff people are talking about, about the left-hand turns, the bike safety on 28, the bike routes coming across the major highways. So I think the vision is good. Walkability, bikeability, and public transit access. That's our vision. And to get there, we have to promote blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Anyone else?
in the provide bullet, my preferences on bike trails. I think that calling out just the local roadways that the Urban Land Institute emphasis was that we could have bikeways within the town properties, but not necessarily only on the roadways. So that some words to the effect that local roadways and within other town properties. Something
Well, again, less is more. we could just drop along local roadways. Kathy?
Kathy, yeah.
We did do the Cape Cod Commission did a study on that, Tom, and their recommendation was not to go through the bike paths. I don't think you have any comprehension the level of heat I personally took on that particular study, and that the outrage of people came into my office vibrating. People called me very upset, saying they had not slept with the thought of having a paved bike path through these nature trails. The comments from the public was really for along roadways. So I think if you start saying through other public towns, you're going to be stirring up a whole bunch of people who feel like, okay, that study was done, they recommended X, it wasn't to pave through these town properties. So if all of a sudden you're bringing that back through here, I didn't get any of that from the comments from the town meeting, from the public comments. If anything, I heard a lot of people say, we want to maintain our existing paths and trails. That's why it's under preserve, because they didn't want a paved bike path through there.
Kath, I fully understand what you're saying, and particularly that you had the experience with the Cape Cod Rail Trail going on that was approaching Station Ave. That whole area to the east of Station Ave, the people, the properties that wanted fencing, and all of the comments that you've endured through that whole process. I know that you've done that, but the concept of having more ways of getting around with bike paths, whether they're along the highways, along the streets, or within within other parts of the property. Look, the Cape Cod Rail Trail extension phase 3 is through our properties. And while there aren't any residences close by to that particular part, the idea of going off the structure of the roadways is worth looking at. It's worth considering. If you even the present project on Higgins Crowell, number one, is being broken up into 2 or 3 construction segments, and is while there's not a lot of there's no land taking involved, to try to look at any other street location in the town and try to put in bike paths means the idea of land taking from local residences. So the idea of avoiding land taking by using existing properties that are off the highways is a reasonable course of action, I think.
Tom, if I may, I'd like to just try to stay on point here. That discussion about bikeways and where they'll be and where people want them to be, I think is a topic for separate discussion. And the town has gone through some review of converting footpaths into paved bikeways and came up with some significant resistance. And we didn't hear through the visioning surveys and the like, an overwhelming change in that. So again, we're trying to get to a 10,000 foot level here, not drilling down into future decisions that the town might make on where the location of bikeways might be. I think Kathy's just trying to capture where we know our constituents said, and along roadways was one of them. And as we're designing Route 28, that major project that the state DOT will be carrying will have dedicated bike lanes, which are important. So I just want to take.
I fully understand that, and I'm not I'm not trying to be obstinate about this, but it's a different point of view, and that's all I'm trying to express.
I hear you, Tom.
Joanne,
But
could I make a suggestion?
yes,
Could we just shorten that to more pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and drop everything else after that? And that way, infrastructure is a broad term that can later be defined. Provide pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, period. And then each individual project would be determined on its own merits. Do we have to have sidewalks, bike lanes, and shared use pathways? Do we have to have that? What does that get us by including that?
well, again, to the kind of the way we've been going here, less seems to be more.
As long as the
I
public
think
knows what
that
bicycle
the point though that
infrastructure is.
Kathy's making, and that she's dove into the data, these specific things were mentioned in the visioning exercises: sidewalks, bike lanes, shared use. They want to see that again.
Right, but that's captured under the word infrastructure. And going to Tom's point, we don't want to be igniting a fire if we don't have to. All
Yeah.
of those things are captured under the word infrastructure, and it still leaves open areas for discussion because there may be other things that would fall under bike infrastructure. So
I agree, but again, I'll go back to what someone thinks infrastructure is. They might think it's bricks and mortar. And that necessarily isn't what this is,
that is sidewalks, bike lanes, and shared bike paths are bricks and mortar. That is physical infrastructure.
Okay, so
I just think using the word infrastructure is a good word. I don't know what it gets us by further defining it in parens, no less. I think
then why don't we just say such as sidewalks, bike lanes, shared use pathways?
including things, such as or including, that would work
How's that, Kathy? Is that
without
I
being
think
limiting.
a lot of the things in parentheses, I would put like IE, like means example,
Right.
just so the public is understanding.
yeah?
I don't mind if we want to take out away along local roadways, as long as we keep the preserve our existing nature paths and trails above, then people will understand that they were heard.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
as Tom said, it does expand the opportunities for other places, maybe not that particular place, but for other town land to be used for.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay, that
sense?
sounds good. Okay, moving on. Recreation, entertainment. Any particular comments here or adjustments? We brought in
Just-
the
Just
idea
wordsmithing,
that,
that's all.
I'm sorry, Tom,
Just minor wordsmithing, but you guys can play it out later, just taking out a few words here and there, that's all.
well, go ahead. What are they?
Just under the preserve, I was just trying to shorten it up, as Sue said and everybody else, just civic and social clubs, and then take out that are fun. And then and that are fun. No, I want the ones that are really a pain in the ass.
Madam
Civic
Chair,
and
let the
social-
record show that Mr. Goodwin does not believe in fun.
Exactly, in wordsmithing.
He
Social
votes no on
clubs
fun?
to bring the community together.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Anything else? This was good. This was a good one. Covered almost everything, including particularly those items that the community mentioned, right, Kathy? That's why we've got a
Right.
swimming pool and a central community center.
Madam Chair, the big word was in there, pickleball.
Pickleball.
And
My
then
only
Kathy was going to say it.
Right. My only comment is like under expanded recreation facilities, those were like examples. And those are things like, did you want to vet those a little bit more during the survey? Or we don't have to say it at all. We can simply say in the survey, expanded recreational facilities, and let people sometimes people need a little bit of an example as to what they're talking about, but this might be an opportunity to get a little bit more specific with different types of things. And this might be something that we could actually talk to the Recreation Commission about and see if they're interested in vetting some of these things. And same thing, you know, on some of the other topics. So that's why sometimes those details are there for you guys to understand what we mean, not necessarily, and the public, and maybe to include or think about in the survey.
In the interest of looking at that parental list, if you're going to put splash pads and pickleball courts, I would also include new bike trails. I'm still pushing on bikes, but I would include that in the list. If you're going to use it as an example, we're talking about expanding recreational facilities, and new bike trails would fit in that.
Okay. Anything else on this recreation and entertainment? Will, I thought you might have some as lead camp director.
No, I mean, I think it reflects a lot of what I heard in my own groups and what I saw in the word cloud, and I got to see the word pickleball. But I also agree that if we're going to be consistent, right, we've been consistently sort of snipping and slendering, or whatever that word was, skinnying, then we should probably be taking out those examples under the last bullet under provide. You know,
Right.
if we're just trying to be consistent.
I think Will's right. Adding that
And-
stuff only is going to get you in trouble.
Well, sure.
Really, I agree.
No, yes.
Okay.
It's just, I'm just sort of thinking big picture. That's sort of been the theme here tonight,
Well,
is
that would make us consistent, which would
Yeah.
not be a bad thing.
which is something about hobgoblins and mines and, you know, that whole thing.
Okay.
Nobody under the age of 45 understood what I just said. It's fine.
Okay. Community connections.
Joanne and I had talked a little bit about this earlier. You know, she had also said the same thing that Will said about libraries being educational. And so maybe this one, instead of being community connections, maybe it goes back to age friendly. If we're just
Yeah,
gonna be
that's what I was
talking
going
about
to
the
say.
same- okay.
It feels like if you use age, here's the thing. If there's a commitment in the town to age friendly, there's a whole age friendly, you know, task force / strike force, you know, that's cool. So if that becomes the vision, as part of the vision for the community connection section, then I can see why libraries and seniors would be in there. Does that make sense? But if we're not, I mean, it does say serving all ages, but I think it's sort of cart and horse. I think we need to say something in the vision about, you know, we're an all ages community, period. And then underneath it is that stuff, if that makes any sense. In other words, I'm not trying to pull things out if we don't need to. I'm trying to stay broad, as I think this is our mission tonight, and then seed into things that are specific without making extra examples, which, as Susan has pointed out, could get us in trouble.
Can I also make a comment? Maybe, you know, I went to all of the workshops. I'm questioning whether we even need, I'm wondering why we have a section called Community Connections, particularly when we have so many bullets about libraries. Not one of my workshops spent a tremendous amount of time. In fact, I can't think of only one workshop where the word library was even mentioned. Senior Citizen Center was mentioned a lot. And even if we wanted to pick up on the library idea and the senior citizen idea, maybe we could tuck it back into the play, you know, play or learn vision piece that we already have set up, and do away with the community connection section entirely. Just a thought.
And I'm kind of in line with that, Susan, with only by default, sort of. I had thought that library, our discussion of library should fall in one place. We do have library in a couple of different places.
Yeah, but Joanne, I never heard it during the, at least in my groups.
Well,
Library-
respectfully, Susan, it was
Was it-
discussed in others.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah, in my
Surprised when I
group,
saw it. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But
in
that's
my group
fair.
of-
I mean, both points of view are right.
yeah, in my particular groups and in the compendium of all the information that Kathy collected, libraries were up there, so. But what I was thinking was move it to learning, because it really is, the primary mission there is to encourage learning of all kinds at all ages, but I think it more appropriately sits as under the learning category. And we
That was-
can
that was the-
build out what we want that to say.
Oh, but
And
okay,
then
right.
leaves community connections with only the senior center, which I would say we could move into something else. So there,
Yeah,
by
that-
default, community connections would fall away.
You're saying break it in two, Madam Chair, break community connections in half and take the library pieces and put it under learn. And then do
and-
something with the seniors and put it somewhere else, and then community connections goes away per se.
Yes,
Got it. Sorry to interrupt, Tom.
No, I was just saying that our previous discussion under the first page said library and
Right.
cultural center would go under the learn category.
yep.
Whoa, it's like we left ourselves breadcrumbs like Hansel and Gretel. How about that? And here we are at 7 o'clock, eating breadcrumbs or cookies or something. I don't know.
Do you want to move the senior center
Popcorn.
to living?
Oh,
Where would you,
okay.
where would, I mean, it's
It could be
like-
living, it could also be learning. Either one. It's one of those that can go under,
It is. It goes under everything. They have educational programs there. They have
Right.
socialization.
right. So
Um,
where do you think it would where do you think it would make the most sense?
I think if you wanted to be more of talking about an age-friendly community that supports its seniors, maybe that is a
Living.
live.
Yeah, I think that stays under community connections. The library under learning is more appropriate.
Tom, respectfully, what we just talked about is that we're going to dissolve the community connection section. I thought that's what we just talked about.
Right, and break it into two pieces.
Well,
So-
but yeah,
No,
but
it won't have a heading.
I'm sorry. I don't want to mince, but we are mincing. We've been mincing since 6:15.
Well, community connections is also the watchword of the senior center as well.
But right, but we can fold that in. Yeah,
Into, right.
I'm just saying the
either one.
subsection doesn't need to exist. I think you're saying the same thing, Tom. You're not saying the same thing. I don't know.
I like the idea of it going into living because I think it has a broader appeal. It is an aspect of living. It's a nicer feel, I think, to have it under living as opposed to learning.
But I do agree with Tom that we can use the phrase community connections
Right.
when we put that in. It's just that
Exactly.
whole subsection doesn't need to live on
Yeah.
its own.
Yeah,
We could say something like develop community connections through the senior center and the programs in the senior center, blah, blah.
yeah. If I may, I think under live, we have community character and design, and we could just create a new subheading under that says community connections of some kind. Because in that, we've got a couple of other categories. So that's just a
Right.
suggestion.
The only
Yeah.
thing I'd emphasize is the senior center was talked about extensively.
Yes, it was
It wasn't a minor little thing to insert. It was
a topic.
a huge topic. So I don't mind, like, whether you want to call it, go back to like the theme that Horsley Witten had, which was age friendly, and talk about the senior center under there and multi-generational programs under living. But I don't know whether we should try and, trust me, I tried to cram a bunch of stuff all over the place, but I think that one was so pronounced, it probably deserves a little bit of a standalone.
Well, why don't we create one under living then?
Yeah.
Living, a bullet
Yeah.
under living.
Yeah, put it under living.
Yeah.
And have a standalone and give it the ink that it created.
That's
Okay.
easy to do.
So we have learn last. We're gonna adjust that with the library discussion.
Historical
not-
Society.
I'm not sure, Will, if there was anything else that you were able to think about in terms of the education part,
Well,
or want to.
well, I did. The only note I wrote down here is we had discussed in previous meetings about the diversity and the variety of education that is available in our town, and that means the collaborative, that means the parochial. Yes, it does reference the tech, which I agree is important. I think this is one of those places where we should be specific and we should make a list. Or we shouldn't say anything about Cape Tech, because we also are a part of the collaborative and we also have Catholic schools. I mean, I don't know. Somebody help me.
No, we did talk about that at the last meeting.
There's something about it is kind of amazing that all of that exists within this one town. Not every town does have that kind of accessibility within its borders.
Will, can I ask you a question? Is Dennis always going to be our education partner?
Always is a strong word, Madam Committee person. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Susan, and I'm being a little silly. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little punchy. I would say, I think it's accurate to say with our regional partner or something, with our district. You could literally say with our district partner, because that's factual. I don't know. I mean, and somebody help.
I'm just trying to figure
we're
if something
regional
happens
with
and
the
Dennis is not our
district.
partner. How does that jeopardize our statement? Can we use it,
Right.
like, can we use district partner?
Why
And that
couldn't we
way-
just say a better working relationship with the town of Dennis? Because that's personally what I believe in. And that's something I've been working on since I got here. But
How about the word equitable instead of better?
oh Lord,
That's all. I was just looking because if somebody from Dennis is going, what do you mean?
I hear
better?"
ya.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't.
I
But-
think
If somebody
equitable
from
might cause more.
But you know what? If somebody from Dennis is watching this, they would be cheering me on right now to say, yeah, there should be a better working relationship
I
with the
agree.
town of
Oh,
Dennis.
no. The anger coming across the Bass River has been
So-
palpable at times.
So
So I agree.
So I mean, we are talking about, we represent a town whose select board sued the town of Dennis,
Mhm.
and sued its own regional school committee. And I'll say that again, but I won't say it again. So I mean, I am very much okay with better, because I think to say anything else is not factual.
Okay, all right.
And just drop education and just make it a better working relationship with Dennis, period.
I think that would be safe, but I would
Safer.
defer to the chair.
Well, it's
Okay.
under education and learning anyway.
Right.
That's true. It does give us the cover. I don't think anybody could misinterpret it. Do you agree, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I do.
And I appreciate you considering the word better, because I think that's exactly what it should be.
That's what came out of the public comments.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, don't trust
Really
me,
good.
trust the people. There you go.
Okay.
So were you going to add anything further, Will? Are you going to send me something, or is this kind of? I think we're going to add the library. We're going to talk about the Historical Society of Old
I think
Yarmouth when we're talking about the Cultural Center.
Well, how did the rest of the group feel about the variety of educational opportunities? And I don't want to keep on keeping on if it's not that important to the rest of the group.
No, I think it's good, particularly the idea of the parochial schools, Will, because they do have a lot of kids in the parochial school. Maybe under,
Well, there's something about expansion of educational opportunities. It's not so much expansion. It's more like promoting the availability.
of
Because I think
educational opportunities, yeah.
Because I think availability is something that would sum up without us having to then delineate all of them and then break our pattern.
All right, so you'd say promote availability of educational opportunities.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think at this phase, yes, I totally agree.
So we say expansion of educational opportunities for all ages. Do you want to say availability and expansion, or is it a separate
Just
bullet item?
availability. I
well,
think Will hit
expansion
it
to me
really well.
means you're gonna actually create them. We're not gonna create anything, but I think we should be promoting the availability, that there are other things out there. Under the word promote, I always thought that to be that it was more of a creative process for something that doesn't exist. These things exist, and all Will is saying is we ought to be promoting the fact they're there and let's make them available.
Right. Susan, let me piggyback on that. Could we add the word variety? Promote the availability of the variety of educational opportunities. I don't, what I'm trying to say? Like
Yep.
that could.
Do you want to preserve, Will? Do you want to preserve?
No, I'm sorry. I'm in promote.
Right, but
We're in
but is what you're really saying is you want to
Oh.
preserve the variety or you want to promote the variety?
We want to promote the availability and variety. The key word there is availability. I think Will's tapped onto something. There's lots out there that is available, and the town should be promoting the availability.
And Susan, I totally agree with you. I also unfortunately agree with Kathy that it's sort of a simultaneous thing, and I would defer to the chair to split this hair.
I'm not making those decisions tonight. This
Well,
is
I just meant because
collaborative.
we want to put it in either preserve or promote. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think
It will be punchy either way. It will be effective either way.
yeah,
Kathy,
the key words there are availability and variety.
there you go.
Yeah.
And I think it's better than it was at 5:30. So there you go.
Yeah. And Kathy, toss a coin, either preserve or promote.
I think you're acknowledging that there is currently an existing variety that you would like to preserve.
Whoa. Thank you for being you, Kathy. That was lovely. Honestly, it was great. That's teamwork right there. That is the sausage being made, Madam Chair. Ooh.
And I'm spent.
Well, I mean, but this was, I want to praise the chair and Kathy for letting us go through this. This is why we're here. This is what we signed up for. And I think it's going to lead to some very healthy conversations and not confuse people. I think we've tried to unconfuse. I really do. I hope we've succeeded. I don't know. We don't know yet.
If anyone has any editorial things that they'd like to send me, as far as narrowing some stuff down, I'm not going to suggest it to Brad because it'll be 3 sentences and we'll be done. There needs to be a little meat on the bone.
But the word fun will not be included.
No, but that's a good comment. Not being editorial and using adjectives and adverbs. That's all very helpful.
Yeah.
Kathy, I marked up my copy and I will drop it back off at Town Hall tomorrow. I'll put it in
Awesome.
the envelope at the door.
You put it what?
I'll leave it in the envelope at the door.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Okay.
That would
I
be
have
great.
to know, Madam Chair, just for giggles. Susan, are you using a red pen?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, any other further comments on this? And again, I want to thank Susan as a member of the board for taking a leadership role here. It's been extremely helpful, to me and to Kathy. And thank you.
And I have to tell you, it's one of the few things I hate to do. I think these things are extremely difficult to do. So Kathy has done the right. It's so much easier to edit than it is to put it all together.
To create from blank page. Yes,
Exactly.
ma'am.
So
I agree.
editing is much easier.
Well, thank you for your help. Okay, we're going to move on with the balance of the agenda. We have the minutes from our meeting of April 7th. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of our April 7th?
So
20
moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Who moved?
Oh, you know who seconded.
Will
I know who
seconded.
seconded it.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm
Miss
sorry.
Britta
Thank you.
moved.
Tom Barron,
Abstain. I wasn't there.
Susan Britta,
Aye.
Brad Goodwin,
Approve.
Will Rubenstein,
Aye.
and me, aye. Joanne. Zoning Board of Appeals decisions. Any news there, Kathy, that we need to?
No, I haven't been,
Where-
like I mentioned before, I haven't been getting any decisions, and I
Yeah.
asked Sandy to
Yeah.
send them to me, and she said she would, and I haven't received anything yet.
Okay.
There was no meeting. There was no meeting on the 8th of April. And the agenda for tomorrow is also quite limited.
Surprising.
Okay, committee updates. Any reports on committees? Will?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Tomorrow, the CBC is voting on the FY22 capital requests at 4:30. Set your, I'm not going to say VCR. Don't worry, Brad. If you'd like to tune in to your Zoom machine. We're also going to be talking about the 5-year and 10-year capital plans. That will then go right to FinCom, which is, I think, meeting after us tomorrow night. And then all of this is to say, by town charter, the CBC has to have a public meeting with the select board, which will be on May the 4th. And that will happen concurrently. I hope I used that word correctly. That's number one. Number two, and I am very happy and proud to share with you that on April 30th, I got the invitation today, there will be a groundbreaking for the Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate and Middle School. Hooray.
Could you send me a press release on that or anything so I could forward it to the news department?
Yeah, Brad, I'll forward the email I got from
Thank you.
Eileen Whalen and Carol.
Thank you.
And that's at 1 p.m. and that is at that is behind Station Avenue Elementary at 826 Station Ave. I believe it's open to the public, I would imagine. And that is the culmination, Madam Chair, of half a decade worth of work by a bazillion people, including some of our friends from the town of Dennis, may I say. So thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Joanne, can I just ask a question? Kathy, do you have any idea of when in-person meetings are going to be allowed back in town hall?
No, we're not even open to the public now,
No, I know.
except for
but
if you need a sticker. You can come
Right.
to the front door and you can get a sticker for the dumps and beach and stuff.
Right, but who will determine when we can start having meetings in town hall? Who makes that determination?
Charlie Baker.
I was just say the governor.
Right, it's creeping toward that. So I just want to know if there's any kind of anything we should be looking for on the town
I've heard-
website. No heads up.
I've
or
heard
anything?
nothing, my friend.
Right.
Heard nothing.
Okay.
Okay, any other committee updates? I have none.
I've got one.
Will, Brad?
Just quickly, Affordable Housing Trust has been meeting. I think we have an A&R coming from Robin Switzer Engineering about a plot of land that they want to subdivide with a house on it. And we just got to keep an eye out for that because I don't know if he has enough frontage. So just a heads up. We've got, but it was 2 pieces of land, one for a duplex, 2-piece, they're going to be kept affordable, and one where they're going to knock down an existing house, move it, and build another affordable. And that's the one where Robin Switzer has got something in the pipeline. So let's keep a heads up for that.
Where is that, Brad?
Don't do that to me. I can get you the address. It's in my other file with Mary Wiggins' name all over it.
Do you know which village it's in by any chance?
I think
Just
it's
trying to
up
help you
there.
out, Brad.
One is called Wedgemere and the other one is called, I think it's off West Great Western. So those are the two. But I have to look at it because we had to postpone the vote for money because I don't think, as I said, the plot doesn't exist right now. What we just looked at was something that the applicant is hoping the town will approve, and he hasn't subdivided the land yet with an A&R.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question if we're into board member items.
Yes?
I was just circling back to the subdivision that we talked about several months ago and just was wondering if this is the appropriate time to ask if there's any update on that.
Kathy, Kathy?
Yeah, they just, as a cluster subdivision, it needs to go through formal site plan review, which is done through town staff, and they just submitted it down to the building department, I believe, today. So that if it's a complete application would happen not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after. And then after that, they could submit for the special permit to the planning board for the cluster subdivision, as well as the definitive subdivision plan.
And if I recall, you said, Madam Chair, because this is, again, I'm still new to this, that the preliminary subdivision discussions that we had back in the late fall, early winter were not the same kind of discussions that we would be having in deeper depth
It would be
the next time around.
Yes, it would be through a public hearing where there
Right,
would be
that
a
would be
butter
a whole with neighbors
notification.
and the butters and
Yep.
all the whole Megillah.
I hope they listened to the comments and have made some adjustments in order to try and address some of those things. And I'm sure they've continued their work with the Mass DOT.
Just one last piece that's connected to this, and Madam Chair, I appreciate your indulgence, because this is very educational. Do the site plan review comments become part of that public record?
Yes.
Thank you. It'll be my first subdivision, so I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Typically in a regular subdivision, if it doesn't, this is a cluster that goes through site plan review, I would receive it and then I would send it out to all town staff, and you guys would get a report that would have all the different staff comments in it. That helps you with any conditions you might want to impose.
Thank you. That's extremely helpful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Kathy,
Sure.
one question. Any update on the Great Island development?
Yes, I do
Oh,
have
good.
some update. Yeah, she's having difficulty getting financing.
She
can't
said
get-
that for years.
Yeah, well, I think it's particularly hard now because you can't get anybody to sign any types of letters of intent to rent because of COVID. People are like, I don't want to commit to anything right now. So she's had some difficulty trying to find getting the financing for it. So right now, it's a little bit dead in the water. I know that they are continuing to market the property to sell it and potentially sell it to
that's what you
someone
always-
else to develop. What's that?
I said that's what she always wanted to do.
She did?
That's what the word I heard was that she wanted to get all the permits, then turn around and sell it, that she never really wanted to redevelop it. But that's urban myth. Route
Yeah,
28 urban myth, which is about the worst kind of urban myth you could have.
Yeah.
So, okay. And anything on the site on the other side of the post office? That's another site she controls. Anything happening there?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, she's permitted, and the thing is, I think with COVID, there's been some type of tolling with regard to special permits, understanding that people may not be constructing. So I
Right.
think she has a little extra time in order to
Okay.
Susan.
And nothing on the
Susan,
drive-in site? I haven't heard a word on the drive-in site either.
yes. Last night, Bob Lawton gave a brief overview of the drive-in site with regard to interim uses for the summer.
Right.
There is a draft letter or solicitation of interest, as well as a draft license agreement that has been sent around to staff. Also went to the Chamber of Commerce, and the chair of the drive-in site utilization committee just went to Jim to see if there was any comments. I think the drive-in site provided your comments already, the DISUC, with regard to that. So hopefully that will be something that they will be taking and wrapping up and getting back to the Board of Selectmen soon.
Okay.
Susan, you mentioned the other side of the post office. That was only the lot that burned down.
Right.
There's the lot behind it is an approved development which hasn't gone
Right.
forward.
Right.
There has been some activity there. I think the gas company has been marking out their facilities on that lot. So I don't know if there's something coming up on that.
Yeah, thank you. Tom, in fact, you and I were on the zoning board when that was approved, that back lot. And the issue is going to be, of course, access from 28, which will be a nightmare at that intersection.
Yeah,
Because they're going to want access to that's a site that's like a T. It's got a long, narrow entrance, and then it breaks out and back. And I remember they got the permit, but several years ago, it was the O'Coin family, as I recall. And then there was always, and then they were going to wait and see, but I guess they're going to move ahead. But the issue is going to be access to that site from 28, when in fact the entrance is literally 20 yards away from the streetlight. It's a very, very tight intersection.
You said that you saw it on the zoning, but Kathy and we on planning had seen that a month or two before that,
Right.
when the development was first proposed.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, they've been sitting on that permit for quite a while.
Mike O'Coin recently, like within the last 2 months, finally purchased those two lots. He had been
Yeah.
under purchase and sale for forever. So I think that's why we're seeing some activities. He actually has finally purchased the property.
Right.
Yes,
No,
Brett?
I think Kathy had talked to O'Coin about there's a provision in the layout of the plan for a second entrance or exit to that property from the west side, and that would be contingent entirely upon the owner of the Great Island site to be able to get access through there as an alternative to, as you said, the Route 28.
Right, or they could access to the site off College Street. Because the
No,
site I think goes all the
no,
way
it
down to
doesn't.
College Street,
No,
doesn't it?
it doesn't face that way. It doesn't face that way.
I thought one side of it went all the way down to College Street.
I don't
No,
think so.
No?
no, it would have to vent, it would have to open up to the west. That's the only,
Okay,
that's the only option that plan, if
Right.
that plan were changed, now that's another story, but the plan that sits there is only open to the west.
okay.
Brad, you've been patient, yes?
Yeah, just a quick
Comment?
thing, on this definitive subdivision hearing coming up. Back in the mid-90s, when the planning board approved the sleeping dog path on, well, I guess what's that, Willow Street? We were all a fairly new board, and we all did not really pay attention during the opening subdivision and waited for the final subdivision, and then came up with all these different changes, and Terry went nuts. Because the person who's coming before us for the opening subdivision, that's where we're gonna all make our comments. So any comments you have there, please make them to the applicants. And so he or she can go back and make the changes that you'd like. At the final vote, that's when you're gonna get a lot of the residents to come out, and it won't be in person, but it'll be on Zoom. And there's gonna be a lot of pressure on you to just follow the guidelines that you've set out, we've all set out in the opening hearing. So just a heads up, we froze like deer in the headlights in '95, and Terry had us for lunch, and I don't blame him, because we made a fool of ourselves. We ended up with a 2-2-1 vote and left everybody in shambles. So it was a bad day in the planning board history, and I was one of the people who didn't vote correctly. So make all your comments in the opening definitive sub plan in front of the applicant, please.
Which is the one that's upcoming that
Yes.
Kathy referenced in the next several
The
weeks.
hearing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the one you want to make all your
Thank you, Brad.
comments, changes, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brad.
That's good insight. Thank you, Brad.
I'm glad I voted no the first time around, Brad. You made me feel good.
Oh, boy, did we do badly. And it's why I'm glad I've ducked out of Terry's line of vision since then. So,
Okay.
because he'd still glower at me.
I'd never
Uh,
glower at you, Brad.
I have one member item. Tomorrow, the Cape Cod Commission will be voting on our request to extend our GIZ. I'll be attending the meeting with Kathy, and any and all of you are invited to join as well. We're the only item on their agenda at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And Kathy has
Want me to
indicated
send
to
out
me
the
that
agenda?
it's very pro forma.
I wish you a speedy and
Pro forma.
happy
Pro forma.
resolution.
Okay, any other board items? Okay, correspondence or staff updates, Kathy, for us?
The only staff updates, and I don't think I had mentioned this to you guys, is that just to let everyone know that the Parker's River Bridge is fully open to the full flow of water flow. And it was last month, so that's the width it's going to be. Obviously, they're still working on the top, but that's been flowing probably for a good 3-4 weeks now. The Land Disposition Committee went before the Board of Selectmen last night, as Tom knows, and they did vote to sell 3 small parcels that was recommended for disposition by the Land Disposition Committee, and I think they're going to move forward with some type of auction for those. But that parcel, you weren't at that meeting where they talked about the 10-acre parcel next to Flax Pond, and the committee voted to retain it as town-owned property for a large number of reasons. One of them being if we needed it for some type of compensatory land for any Article 97 dispositions.
That unfortunately, I wasn't there, but that unfortunately is a bad decision. the compensatory area
Tom, I hate it when you sugarcoat words.
that the item that's needed for compensatory coverage there is a little more than an acre, and that parcel is 10 acres. And by releasing it for that purpose, it opens it for development, and I think it's a bad decision.
The town's retaining it, ownership of it.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
don't think we're
disposing
selling
of
it. Mr. Lawton,
Not the-
I don't think we're selling it, Tom.
That's fine. That's fine. It's a bad decision. The compensatory need should not be incorporated within 10 acres when they only need an acre. The compensatory need has to do with the Colbea development on Station Ave.
Yeah, that's a nitrogen credit. That's something different. I was talking about compensatory for Article 97.
But that was the first mention
Mhm.
by Attorney Singer
Mhm.
when Colbea was
Yep.
was up, and that parcel is the 10-acre parcel is not the way to go with that. That's my opinion. I didn't make the meeting, so I wasn't able to offer my comments, but I just didn't think it was a good decision.
I think you ended up getting what you wanted because we're not getting rid of it. We're not giving it to we're not selling it to Colbea for nitrogen credit. We're not selling it to Davenport for housing at this time. It wasn't just for Article 97. It was also Jeff Colby was very interested in retaining that for well protection and or potentially some type of treatment because there's some wells in that area that are contaminated now. So it was for a variety of reasons why the town voted not to, or not the town. I'm sorry, the Land Disposition Committee voted not to sell it.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, we need housing. There was an opportunity for 12 to 15 houses there. There's another parcel called the Haywood lot that nothing was done 14, 15 years ago. That could have another dozen house lots in that same area, and to pass up the opportunity for additional tax-bearing properties just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Particularly where we have,
If I may, Tom,
other budget items.
if I may, and I mentioned this in a note to you, you are a member of the Land Disposition Committee, correct?
Correct.
So I think it might be best for all of us, since I didn't know what you and Kathy were talking about. If at one of our next meetings, you could report out as part of the committee updates as to what's
Sure.
happening on your committee in some as a result of a recent meeting, and you can
Yeah,
bring
and I'll talk
that
to.
way, because I'm reluctant to have items discussed on the agenda that are not on the agenda when it's a public meeting. So
I hear you.
be careful of that.
I will comply.
Great. But I think there's a perfect way for us to keep abreast of this through you, in particular with Kathy's help, because of your position on that committee. And it's an active committee now. It sounds like they're doing, quite a bit of evaluation, which it is land, and land needs to be zoned. So somewhere we'll get our fingerprints on it, I guess.
There's approximately $4.6 million worth of property, foreclosed property, that is on the list for that committee to decide one way or another. So there's a lot of revenue. The majority of the revenue will go into the wastewater fund. That's what Ed Centeo has been basically angling for quite some time. He tried 3 years ago, at town meeting, and it was all blown up in front of him because he didn't. It was a surprise to most people in the town, and that's what prompted the formation of the committee, the land disposition policy, and the committee, which finally got together this year.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 5th. Kathy, are you anticipating you've received enough good feedback to maybe have something back to us? What's your comfortable schedule?
Oh, yeah,
On-
no, I
our
think you
next
guys
meeting.
gave me a lot of great information, and then Susan's got some markups for me. I know, trust me, you got to start here because it's,
Yeah.
it's easy. And
Much
you don't
easier
even know
going
I
this way,
started
right, Susan?
here.
And going this way. Yes.
So, yeah, I think we just, we have the good information, we can do that. And then maybe, I don't know how, but maybe I can start looking at how we might work out the survey.
Okay,
Start thinking about the survey anyway.
okay, good enough.
Okay?
Great. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Tom Barron,
Aye.
Susan Britta,
Aye.
Brad Goodwin,
Aye.
Will Rubenstein,
Aye.
Joanne Crowley, aye. I wish you all a good evening. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
guys.
Thank you, Madam
Good job.
Chair.
And
Thank
thank you
you,
to
Susan.
Robert, who's been listening this entire time. as an
Yeah, I was
attendee.
wondering who
Thank
was
you,
that
Robert.
wonderful person who is just listening to
Who's
all
been
this.
listening?
Rob, it just says Robert, maybe it's Palmieri.
Ah, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Hope it was thrilling. I